why Jesus came. And the next story I want to look at is in John 5, where Jesus healed a lame man. Now, the situation was that there was a pool there by the name of Bethesda. And the tradition was that whenever the water in the pool was stirred, the first person in would be healed. And so there were many, many people gathered around the pool every day, waiting to see the water stirred, hoping that they would be the first one to get in. Jesus happened to be passing and he saw a man lying there, a paralysed man, and he said to him, "Do you want to get well?" Of course the man said yes, but there's no way. He said, "I've got no one to help me, and as soon as the water stirs, someone else always gets in ahead of me." Doesn't seem like people had much compassion, because they must have known he was there every day and that he was paralysed with no help. But when it came to healing, it seems like it's everyone for themselves. But Jesus did notice him. Jesus found out what his situation was. He'd been paralysed for 38 years. And he just said to him, "Pick up your mat and walk." And he did. An instant healing. It was a miracle to rejoice in. But the Jewish authorities simply saw a man carrying his mat on the Sabbath day, and that was seen as work. The man replied to them, "Well, look, the one who healed me, he told me to pick up my mat and walk." And they didn't even care about the fact that he'd been healed. They said, "Who is it who's told you this?" The man didn't even know that it was Jesus. It was later in the temple that Jesus met him, and he said, "Look, you've been made well, now it's up to you to live a godly life." And this, of course, should be the response to having God touch our lives in a dramatic way. Have God intervene on our behalf in some way that only God can do, and then continue living as if God is not a part of our lives, is an absolute insult to him. So the man went back to the authorities and said it was Jesus. But again, the authorities just ignored the miracle. They focused on the breaking of the law. And this law was one that the Pharisees had made up. It comes out of the commandment not to work on the Sabbath, but to keep it holy for God. But they'd made up all these regulations, hundreds of them, of what work was, all definitions of what work was. And carrying your mat was work. This put the focus on what not to do instead of the focus on God and what he is like. And so the conflict between Jesus and the authorities brings out this difference. You see, to Jesus, what mattered was the good of the person. In this case, a person who was obviously not a well-known person, not an important person. He was just somebody in need. And God cares about everyone who has need. To truly celebrate the Sabbath is not about keeping strict laws. It's about showing one another the true nature of God. And that nature is to heal and restore.